subtle.
It's not subtle, but neither is the damage that can come out in burst from Sengoku. You don't think of Senna as a burst champion, and it's not the most bursty AD carry, but someone like LeBlanc, even when you are playing very strong frontline champions like an Ornn, if you're going in and you get too distance from your team, there is a danger that someone like Jet can just explode you.
Absolutely, and I think, as you said, for Sengoku Gaming, all eyes are on that mid lane. You've got a self-sufficient top, you've got a Senator Kench bot lane, and yes, Vital, there we go. I did it myself, even though I knew how it's supposed to be pronounced. You have got this kind of stable bot lane. Of course, Vital plays it very, very well, don't get me wrong, but all eyes are on that mid jungle.
They are on that. Very interesting thing here.
Yeah, what you got for me?
Haven't seen before. It's lethal tempo on Senna. I'm much more used to seeing something like a fleet footwork. But I think when you have the fleet footwork on Aphelios, because Aphelios Yuumi is not the strongest lane, but when you see that Senna Tom Kench, you think, look, this isn't the strongest 2v2. Maybe we can get away with that. I wonder if Vital just goes there and goes, well, what if I had more damage? More ability to auto-attack off earlier. Of course, Senna scales very strangely with attack speed, but if you get it stacked up, and of course your Q counts as an auto-attack too, if you manage to just keep poking those autos through and get that increased range, things can get very difficult.
Not exactly known as the fastest auto-attack champion, but, Nightmare completely correct there. Some fun stuff with the auto-attack scaling on Senna. I say fun in a way that a person who's not the best with stats would say. See how it plays out from there, as Once does get onto the red buff early on, with an invade here as well. It is scouted out, of course, so it's looking like a split map option. But Paz, as we said, pretty happy to play the weak side. And on the other, you've got an Aphelios Yuumi who's now looking a little nervously at some early dives potentially coming their way.
Yeah, so I'm very interested, of course, in what is going to happen in this 1v1 mid. We've seen Jet do many horrible things in regards to this. And yeah, I'm looking at that because Once is suddenly making his way, just being present around mid. This is something that we've seen a lot from Viegas. Actually, at the team which I keep quoting in regards to this is actually LJL. See that Jet just making sure the wave is in the right place to make sure that, again, this mid jungle can start firing at full cylinders. But Once is spot on the ward anyway.
Viva la France and all that is, of course, LFL a great region to be watching in general. If you're into good League of Legends, what an extraordinary ERL that is.
I'm going to have a quick warning.
Yes.
Because we're about to change the volume of our microphone. Hopefully that makes us a lot louder. So
I'm hoping.
Producer,
prepare yourselves.
Sure that is okay. We have ourselves on our all-in in bot lane, but hopefully.
Are we at audible levels now? Is the question to all involved. Chain lands in mid lane from Jet, who is continuing to get the shove in this mid lane, and that out wants to defend his red buff as we're going on. That does mean that we now have to stop, I don't know if you noticed there, guys. I'm going to let you behind the curtains a little bit, because we were basically, there was a lot of filling going on there while we were desperately trying to sort
really trying to click buttons in the background as many hamsters on wheels were trying to get things working, because of course, we have computers work. Us too, we spent so much time casting the LJL, and this is our first time first time together this split.
That's mad.
Because of our various internet issues, of course, we've been...
Berlin.
But we've, of course, with Lara on as host, very, very graciously allowed us into the SK facility to use their internet and to be in the same place to cast some LJL. But
amazing.
It does lead to a little bit of working out on the fly with a new setup, and luckily, we've not had the most explosive early game to really
That would have been awkward.
That would have been really awkward.
Yeah,
it's like, something's happening all across the map while we're trying to sort out audio levels.
Yeah. So all of you at home are like, oh no, slow early game, nothing's really happened.
It's
you guys were wrong. It was great for us, and we're the people who matter. That's the way this works, right? Caster egos well and truly in check.
Yeah, I've heard that. So okay, let's recap, right? Because
in the mid lane, yes.
Sam, you get one of them per game. I hope you realize you have used that already. It is very early into the game. We've had 4 minutes. How are you going to get through the rest of this, buddy?
I don't know. I've got to find a whole new way of casting.
But speaking of this, Recap is currently down CS, and Jet is finding an advantage there. But the question is, for me, I feel like Sengoku Gaming probably have difficulties in a 5v5 should it come to it if the Ornn and the Orianna are relevant. Is this lead going to be enough to deny both solo laners relevance in teamfight? Because if someone like an Ornn, as you can see up top side, isn't really being punished that much, I think that you look at Rascal Jester, you get a single angle teamfight right down the front around a dragon fight, which Rascal Jester have typically, historically been great at setting up for. And Sengoku, even though they are this 7-0 team, they are our most dominant team in the LJL right now. I feel like they're playing with fire here, particularly when you look at Rascal Jester and what they've been strong as a team so far.
survive early, turn into team fights, and be really damn good at them. It's the Rascal Jester special, and when you've got people like Sol on the Aphelios, when you've got Secret on the Yuumi, and yes, people often meme Yuumi, but Secret is a very good Yuumi. He's gone very aggressive with these summoner spells as well.
One of the few Yuumi players in the LJL, actually, because
him and Harp, basically.
Yes, and what's funny to me is, I obviously spending a lot of time in the LEC. LEC loves Yuumi.
Oh yeah,
it is a pick which is consistently picked and banned. It ruins games, much like it does many other games. I'm sure many people have shared that emotion. But when you look at a Yuumi in the LGL, we have typically preferred to say, yeah, actually, we need our engage options on support. We need that. We need it from someone there. We've also seen champions like Yone come out to kind of supplement that too, because stuff like the Nautilus and Leona have fallen away from the meta somewhat. Having someone actually play out the
level 6 comes through.
Gosh, and again, just Jet showing what he can do on this champion, just getting those really slick trades through. But again, having a team willing to go towards that Yuumi is not something we are used to in the LJL currently.
I do want to turn our eyes back towards the jungle as well, because after that sort of very deliberate level 1 players recap again, just about getting out of range of those chains, and
I just love
nervously trying to talk about the junglers as mid lane is getting dicey.
Yeah, so that trade is something which that was always the classic Faker LeBlanc trade, where it wouldn't just be going towards the he's stopping the recall as well, and he can do that. He can do that. Recap doesn't have that teleport. He knows within kill threat. If someone like Once comes in with a flash, doing very much danger, but of course Once using his own mid lane as pressure to just go towards this dragon. And talked about early game, holding down the solo lanes for Rascal Jester from the side of Sengoku. Jet's doing a magnificent job of that, and that's what we come to expect. Now bot lane, essentially on the...
Watch the last embrace. That's a hug you really don't want to be involved with, and they decide they'll keep socially distanced this time around. Thank you. I appreciate you enjoyed that
Rascal
one.
Jester's like content to be introverted and not have physical affection.
Yeah. That's I don't know what that feels like a very strong comment on Clown. I'm happy with that. The Jesters, they need love too, guys.
I you know what? That's just a rabbit hole I'm not willing to
go
right now. Like the social tendencies of clowns within their profession.
There's a master's or a PhD in that.
Please
somewhere.
do not touch the street performance. Next time you see a mime on the street, just give it some distance.
Yeah,
there you go. Again,
the invisible wall is there for a reason. Solvo is this time claimed by that last embrace, but Secret's up looking for the bop and block, but the ignites come down. Sol taken very low, needs to get away. The heal just about keeps him alive.
Oh my gosh, so close. Once has a flash and it all was coming into bot lane to see what they could do. And what that was there was Sengoku's bot lane saying, you have really bad weapons to fight with the Aphelios. You have Crescendum, Gravitum. Gravitum does not stack up those chakrams in any way. It's not really a good combo for the Aphelios. You can't fight. Now, of course, they have the best weapon combo in the game. Calibrum, Crescendum, the rifle turrets. You couldn't have done that on these weapons. Sengoku finding their own openings on a champion, which of course isn't as meta right now, but was so prevalent in spring.
And that's a really nice little niche option. We've got another double train trade in the mid lane. And yeah, ow is the right word. As you said, really niche little thing. Like, look, I see the Gravitum's not quite right out. We've got an angle here, a moment, a window to attack. And they do it. They get summoners. And punishing this Yuumi early is often a very important factor of how games go. Is now the turnaround there with that Calibrum Crescendum. Maybe available. A little vengeance potentially on as the Black Mist comes down.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
Indeed.
Like, again, just a reminder, Yuumi Aphelios isn't really great at laning. It's just kind of there to give... Yuumi in laning phase, unless it's in specific pairs, it's...
NT needs to be a little afraid. The Severum Crescendo comes through. They flash to try and get some more. Didn't quite make it work, but Sol taken pretty damn low. We'll have Zoomies available, but Secret a little bit low in turn, but has got a health bar to work with. Will not get Last Embrace onto Sol. HP bar's low, but they get away with it.
Oh, level 6 now hit for Vital.
Here we go! And that means that Flash may have to be burned, not quite used. He's just dead! Doesn't burn now, NT's in trouble as well. And he enters the death chamber. Double for Sol and Secret. This bot lane, you gotta fear them.
And you know what? We were talking about Rascal Jester. If they want to return to form, it's gonna be through this 2v2. Sol, Secret. Yeah, they get a little bit caught out in terms of playing around the bad weapon combo. But you know what's just around that combo? The two strongest weapon combos back to back. Crescendum with the rifle. Crescendum with that Severum. The ability to just slam through those chakrams. This has been a dance of weapons between these two bot lanes. And I really think Vital and NT did a great job of trying to abuse them. But you can see what happens as soon as the level 6 comes around in that turnaround. You can see Sol and Secret, they are no slouches of their own. And this was our MVP bot lane of 2021. They came in from Korea. They came in and we thought, you know what, maybe they'll do okay. But they came in from Spenu, not a top tier LCK team. They have come in and revolutionized the bot lanes of this league. And while Vital and Denti have been the bot lane to talk about in so many ways, to see Sol and Secret come back up and get these first blood 2 kills in the 2v2, huge for Rascal Jester.
And when you've got a comp from Sengoku Gaming that was about lane pressure, that was about getting this mid-jungle ahead and using that pressure to get things snowballing. Yes, you got the Herald, that was all going on, but this teamfight combo that was supposed to be a little behind in the early game, now with a double kill, now with the CS lead, and now very much in a position to take over this game. And Sol and Secret can sure as hell do that.
Absolutely can. And one thing which is also kind of problematic from Sengoku now is, we talked about the top side of the map and how and in fairness, recap is a little bit down. That's definitely one thing. Hachimecha has lost out on a couple of camps because Jet has been pushing in, and that has allowed Once to take some other camps. You would like to think you can start playing around, maybe having your Tom Kench come up to dive. Maybe you can play around topside and have that support rotation advantage because you're playing against a Yuumi. Well, now actually you've got 2 kills in that Aphelios. That means that you have to be very afraid leaving your center alone, and you typically don't want to do that with center Tom Kench. But it just means that NT cannot do anything more towards topside to try and get them towards that eventual, what I would call win condition of them getting ahead in the solo lanes.
And you said in the draft that if Rascal Jesters can make sure their mid and top are relevant, things can get scary. Once the rest of Sengoku Gaming were thinking about coming down bot as the last chapter is coming down, that means he has got no flash. He's got a thick skin though, and that will just ward off an attempted play on the bot side.
So I think as soon as they see Once just around the corner, don't want to commit to an elongated fight. Get quite dangerous at that point. Hachimecha not blowing the ultimate though. Just showing themselves in that mid lane. And once again, Jet finding trades across bot lane, mid lane rather. Sol and Secret going for
they didn't see it! They hit it! He's got the flash whip now. Hachimecha coming down the teleport back and trying to keep him alive. Sol's gone! It's a shutdown, but what of the turnaround? The Cyclone is now coming through. But NT just about alive. Will get out of the second proc of that. And they will escape their great little pickup, but they're going to keep hunting forwards. Dawning Shadow will not come through. The Shockwave brings low the Senna. It'll be a 1-for-1, all things said and done.
Oh, and it's starting to heat up now because you know what? Sengoku, one of the ways which I characterize their victories is they were losing right up until they found a really good skirmish. And this one was really sneaky from them because you know that Once is bot side from the side of Rascal Jester, but that damn... what's the sanity? The big
Black Mist.
Black Mist.
Curse of it.
Curse of the Black Mist. Well, that accursed Black Mist hides Once. And I think that Sol and Secret thought they were buying into a 2v2 and go, hang on, that's a Viego. That's not really what we want. Jungler turns up and then they get turned around on. But Rascal Jester were not content to let that play sit. Honestly, real props to Rascal Jester, seeing that the play was still on and the fact that they could actually play around this. Again, you see this Senate come through. They just don't see the Viego. They just don't see it. If you toggle over to their vision, which we didn't actually end up seeing that, I think they were going into a 2v2. It doesn't end up that way. The teleport very quickly channeled from recap does that's obviously very important here. Imagine if Jet had some help from Once to blow that summoner once more in that mid lane, because Jet was managing to hold down that Orianna so far. But suddenly, now recap on the board, even though they were struggling in early lane, and we've seen so many chains connect onto them, it wasn't to the level where they'd had their teleport blown and couldn't impact the rest of the map. Rascal Jester walk away with an uncharacteristic early game skirmish win, considering how they've been playing, considering how Sengoku have been playing in this split.
Do you want to call out, though, that Jet did stay mid lane and did have the Herald dropped in mid as well. So he's got 3, nearly 4 plates. I don't know whether he'll have quite enough. He does get that 4th plate. So Jet does actually still trade back a fair amount of gold. So it comes at cost for taking that teleport. And now that mid lane is pretty siegeable if Sengoku can try and put some effort in here. They also claim that second dragon as Merc Treads and Shields doing a lot of work here to keep recap relatively topped up.
But yeah, this is the thing now. You have Merc Treads, you've got the Lost Chapter, you have all your laning items that you need for Orianna. It is much harder to push you out of lane. It's much harder to deny you access to the farm. And as much as the eye candy has been going the way of Jet, and of course those plates open up a crockery store at this point. You got the Sengoku mid laner, with 40 gold going their way. It's not enough to shut recap out of this game. What do we say in terms of the win conditions for Rascal Jester? Stable solo lanes, explosive bot. That is how this team plays. Behold, they have that. If you think of, I'm actually trying to think of a team because we had this. Laura asked this questions before we came into draft. How would you characterize these teams compared to other regions? I would think Rascal Jester are closer to something like maybe like one of the double lift era teams where it was just play around bot. That's where the explosive stuff is. Solo lanes will turn up to team fights. They'll be proficient at enabling the team. But that feels like the way that they want to play. And because of that, it means that the other team knows that they're going to play around bot side too. Sengoku, once again, putting all their resources towards getting bot side vision to making sure that potentially there's options there. It hasn't been enough just yet, has it?
Do you want to call us out as well for Ino, who is way ahead of the 10 CS a minute mark on Orn into Nah, by the by, as in mid lane, an attempted dive here over the wall. Oh, no! Recap! That was sick! Does manage to get out of there and forces a flash out of once as well. Beautifully managed. The mid lane turret will likely fall regardless, but Recap does spare his own blushes there.
But now with Jet not having TP, not having the ability to get back into this lane, I wonder if they give up a Herald in this same way. Hachimecha comes mid. Jet is going to make a recall, but I wonder if this means that Rascal Jester can head towards that Herald. They've moved up. You have Severin Crescendo. And actually, they don't even need that Herald. And once again, Rascal Jesters and Soul have found a way to get the right weapons for the job at the important timings. Rascal Jester get themselves a quick return on that mid lane turret, so now neither team has that to play against. I think this probably favors Sengoku because someone like a LeBlanc can jump up into the wave and stay safe. Someone like an Orianna can't do as much, but it's Herald fight time, or is it? Sengoku, they're in the area. Can they find and engage?
Has not at Mega. The ult somewhat burnt from Sengoku. Remember, as Sol gets out of dodge and forces Jet to back away, as Hachimecha in with the Cyclone. Now needs to try and find their way out. Second activation will get them out to safety. And Rascal just managed to retreat, although Jet goes over the wall to try and hunt Hachimecha, but he's got a Yuumi and some Zoomies to keep himself topped up and alive.
Topped up and alive. Now, Sengoku don't find the fight that they want. They give up that Herald. They blow a couple of ultimates, but not really much outside of that. Question is, what can they do on this mismatch reset? They get some vision into the enemy jungle. So maybe the victory from them, however small it may be, is a play in the next minute, but based off of those wards, which you can see littering the enemy jungle. Rascal Jester, however, have the much more tangible victory of getting that Herald, and maybe that can allow them to break open a sideline or otherwise unbalance the map.
What I will say, though, is it's about 45 seconds till Infernal Drake spawns, and that would be Soul Point for Sengoku Gaming. And while it's been a quiet early game, they win that fight, they get themselves Soul Point, and suddenly you have got yourself a win condition on the table, as we said.
I know, just dubstepping goes past and goes, hey, I have a teleport now. Uses
so you giggle.
It's 30 seconds till the Infernal Dragon. That's why it's important. Az has his own teleport. In fact, everyone has teleports available, so expect a whole roll call from both these teams should they choose to. In fact, it's actually going to be a teleport into mid lane for Jet to get that mid priority. When you're dealing with Shockwaves, dealing with the Call of the Forge God, pushing in mid lane so you can go into river through the larger opening of that river bush instead of going through those pesky jungle entrances can be very important. While this is happening, we have ourselves a split decision. We have an outer turret taken in bot side by Rascal Jester. Sengoku taking a chunk on mid lane, but it's not going to be the end of that. They're also going to give up the dragon. Rascal Jesters currently have access to the dragon. They found themselves in there, and not everyone from Sengoku is joined the fight. Jet isn't joining right now.
Once can potentially still does have the Heartbreaker to try and get in. This will be a smite fight as it stands, but Jet is going to become over, as is Ino, but the turnaround for Hachimecha alongside by Yuumi. Shockwave misses though, and that means that there's not much of a wave indeed. All the while though, Vital being chunked out, taken down solo. Paz gets recap, but it's a 1-for-1 as the center falls as well. What can Enti do though is he has a flash away. Gravitum slow is on. Binding Clips has now been activated. Hachimecha onto the side is going to try and do the best they can as Jet hopping around, looking to find another chain, does get it onto the Orn, who's knocked at the wall, but he kept alive by the Zoomies. Sol doing their best, misses the Moonlight Vigil. Huge 3-man knockup from the stolen Orn Sol, and Sengoku Gaming will not be denied. It's another skirmish, another fight that turns a game around.
And for a team that had done so well in the early game, playing to their win condition, saying, you know what, we're going to turn up to a dragon and we're going to out-team fight you. They get everything right up until the final hurdle. They waste the shockwave onto a devoured target who doesn't even get hit by that. Sengoku outplayed the split skirmish. They played on multiple angles. Sol, for one of the first times this game, we saw it a little bit in that 2v2 earlier, of course, doesn't have the right weapons for the job, doesn't have high DPS. And Rascal Jesters, they get split. Recap misses the memo, gets trapped between 3 members of Sengoku, gets shut down, and while Rascal Jesters are tunneling onto the enemy AD carry, they're actually losing the fight. DFLS doesn't actually have the right DPS weapons for this one, and Jet still has full HP. You have a Mega Gnar to play into with just the base stats doing so much. Sengoku, they just bluntly out-team fight. They divide and conquer Rascal Jesters and run away with the Dragons too.
And the picture in picture, another pick comes through for Sengoku Gaming. Jet now well and truly online. It was a quiet early game for this player, but now suddenly out of nowhere, 3-0 and 3. Once as well, 0-0-6 continuing to extend the lead. He has actually going towards a balmy cinder as a second line, and
Oh,
potentially
it's
going
going to be
towards
a Frostfire.
Frostfire
Gauntlet.
Viego.
Frostfire Gauntlet just allows you to be a bit of a harder frontliner now. Suddenly with Kraken Slayer, Vital, do they think they can two-man this? This is a pretty tanky contention. While we were talking so much from the Rascal Jester early game, as we see, Hachimeshi just got exploded as we were coming out of that last replay. Rascal Jester throw to one dragon fight. They're against a soul point. They lose control of the map. Sengoku, this vision which they won from that Herald, they managed to upkeep it over the next couple of minutes. And suddenly, this could be a Herald Baron on the table.
They try and turn this around, gets rooted in place, and cannot try and get it out, but actually just managed to turn around that with the call of the Forge. I wasn't necessarily expecting how Enti used it to devour. And on the other side, recap is deleted. One still trying to escape on the other side. Hachimechi in a 1v2, trying to fight that one out. Soul flashing away from the chase, can't quite survive, and Jet gets that one as well. And now the fight is completely Sengoku favored. The 5v5 is supposed to be Rascal Jester. They weren't supposed to be a winnable option from where they were against Sengoku. But you just cannot be denied secrets. The cat about to get skinned, and he's straight out of the bag.
Oh, and the entry to these fights are where things are falling apart for Rascal Jesters, and Sengoku are so beautifully setting up Rascal Jesters to be torn apart. They're making sure that they're not playing behind their front line. They're making sure that this Rascal Jesters team can't play around their win condition. Gonna go see how, of course, this worked out. Rascal Jesters, they are forced to be desperate here. You can't ignore this Baron being started. Ino comes in, tries to scout things out, but it means that the straggling members trying to get into position, get into the formation of Rascal Jesters, just can't get into it in time. You don't have enough others with anyone to play around. They don't have the Yumi on top of them. Jet absolutely demolished them. 5-0-5 on that LeBlanc. How could we have forgotten about this champion for what could be the best player in the... No, Jet is the best player in the league at this point. Like. It feels like it. And with this game, 5-0-5, Medjai's, he's bought the books. Spam that one in chat. Sengoku on the turn of a dime. You know, we talked about it, just like, it feels like they will get to a point where they out-skirmish you, and they've done that so many times back-to-back.
And the gold lead has well and truly exploded. It's a minute until the Infernal Rake. And Middlecott said it. This is a Sengoku game where, once again, it felt like they weren't sterilely in control. And suddenly, out of nowhere, they found it. Rascal Jester as well. That's 2 team fights in a row where they found key members split off from the pack, and they get punished for it.
So, we said this might happen in the early game. It happened at a much later time and in a much different way. But Rascal Jester, if they don't have stable solo lanes and can't hold their formation during 5v5s, that was going to be the win condition, or loss condition for Rascal Jester, win condition for Sengoku. Now, we have to deal with that on our screen. Sengoku very happy to start bursting people out with LeBlanc jumping up over the walls, taking control of the map. And I know you are not safe. You're 2 levels down on the mid lane. And look at the XP advantages coming in across the board for Sengoku now too. Rascal Jesters, if they find their way back into this game, it would have to be a miracle. Seen it happen before between these 2 teams.
Oh my days. Hachimechi getting so much damage taken. Does about survive there, but all the while it's fight over trying to even get into the damn river right now. Jet on the side.
Soul on the table for Sengoku. That's why they have to be brazen. They have to try and enter this river, but it just allows Jet a shooting gallery. Doesn't have the Mimic just up yet.
Here we go.
He's firing in though.
Call of the Forge God's coming through, but this might be that last call. A last call, you might say. But drinks are out, and I think they're about to drown in the river. Jet gets the kill. The shockwave isn't enough. Hachimechi gets the cyclone, but it's too little, too late. The breeze blows away the ashes of his own teammates. Recap goes down, a double for the support, a final knock-up to send them all straight up to heaven. And Sengoku Gaming don't even need the soul. They'll take the remains of this Baron and end the game.
And in the modern matchup of LJL rivalries, it feels like Rascal Jester versus Sengoku. Sengoku stomped their mark again. They took their finals away from them in spring in a 5-game series. They take the 2-0 in summer regular season. Sengoku continue to own this matchup, own this rivalry. As they crush in this inhibitor, they are actually going to pull away. We're going to have ourselves a couple of minutes left from this one, but the death knell has already been rung. Rascal Jester, again, they feel like, again, they are desperate to get into this river. You look at this, you can't give up this soul for free. But they don't have the ability to play around a strong front line. They have to clump, they have to find safety in numbers, but there is no safety here. Sol, once again, the first target picked off. This Aphelios just cannot function in these team fights.
Really struggling for the Hurricane second as well, trying to get more DPS at the expense of something like a Bloodthirst to safety. Gets punished again, really struggling as you're saying, and now we're in a position where Rascal Jester staring down the potential for 3 and 5 for Echo. where Axis are one game behind them. Axis are in 7th. At the beginning of the day, we had so many teams tied at that 4th place mark. Axis wins. Suddenly, Rascal Jester going, well, my day's playoff spots. Is there ways to go yet? It can get really tricky. Burning Core, CGA, their current competitors as Sol, just about escapes from the ethereal chains.
That was just a Q. That was just a Q. It procs the Ludens, it procs the Infernal Soul. You hit that chain afterwards, that's an electric Q, that's dead. That is how far ahead of the curve Jet is. And as soon as we saw that LeBlanc locked in for the Sengoku mid laner, I was worried. I looked at this and go, is this just going to be the Jet show again? And while it did feel like just eye candy for a little bit, we got to the skirmishes and Jet showed once again why you rely on this guy to do so much damage. Just look how much damage he's doing to the tank. He is taking 3 levels, level 16. 3 levels up on both solo laners of Rascal Jester. Stable they might have been for the early game, but now they are crumpling before the Sengoku MVP mid laner.
12,000 gold, Infernal Soul, and a LeBlanc that really cannot be stopped. There's nothing ethereal about the chains or the damage in this game. That is very, very real indeed. As Jet just hops over. LeBlanc is not a poke machine so much as a nuclear warhead at this point in the game, and I just don't know what Rascal Jester can even attempt to do to stabilize or even hold on. They're on by their fingernails and they're tearing off.
As long as Sengoku play like this, there is very little they can do. You're preying on mistakes, you're preying on lapses in decision-making from Sengoku, but they're very happy to play this out more cleanly than their other games this split. Jet is just waiting for that Mimic to come back up. Level 16, so low cooldown on that Mimic. And Jet just, again, so happy to just keep prodding with these Qs. It is more than just poke at this point. It is sending people closer and closer to that gray screen, pushing in all lanes at once. Sengoku, they don't have the Baron, but do they need it?
Attempted play! Cyclone and Final Chapter will get a hold of NT and potentially the center as well. Massive pick! And Rascal Jesters find something, a miracle in the dark.
Okay, just as I mentioned it, Sengoku, they slip up. They don't have Jet there for the turnaround, and Rascal Jesters find the engage. It's 20 seconds until the Baron, but I feel like all this does is stop the bleeding by a bit. It is still losing some of that life essence in this game. Sengoku, while they make one slip at this bot inhibitor, it's not there. Been the miracle comeback for Rascal Jesters just yet. Great engage by Rascal Jesters. You can see that there are no flashes on that bot lane caught out, and Vital and NC, while they were very much performing in so many of these team fights, caught out for not the first time this game. Rascal Jester's Desperation Barrow, this is the way they see themselves into the game. They have chakrams, they have rifle turrets, the weapons are there for Sol. Can he stay alive to use them?
Sol has 3 items and an ornament in Typhoon, but they've got to try and keep their likes of Recap alive. So much damage from Jet. It's going to come down to a attempt to steal, but can they even survive? Paz misses the Megadol, but in the back of the pit, they're all corralled. They're all trying to survive. Sol gets just to there. He's still alive. Finally falls down, but everyone else is dying. It's a bounty, but the bounty is just not enough. Dead or alive, and Rascal Jester bring themselves back in dead. Sengoku ahead to the Nexus and finally clean it all up.
Bounties always were the worst chocolate in the box of Rascal Jesters. If life's like a box of chocolates, this one is empty. It is gone to the winds. Rascal Jesters, they see themselves the only way back into the game through that objective. Doesn't work out for them. Sengoku 8-0 continue to find perfection in summer 2022.
9-0-11 on the LeBlanc, 25 stacks. Jet is an absolute war machine, renamed to F-35.
And you know what? Coming into this game, I actually predicted